Another round of applause for the hypocrite. So, as we conclude the open mic segment, Upepe is laughing. I don't know why he's laughing, but ladies and gentlemen, this is WordKalcha. It is a spoken word platform for the nurturing and showcasing of every form of spoken word. It is a monthly event that happens here at the Alliance Française, and it's supported by Alliance Française and the Swiss Embassy. Please put your hands together for them. Before we get into the main guest performers segment, I'd like to welcome to the stage Hebe. Guys, you can do better than that.
Hi everyone, this is my first time performing and I'm very nervous. That's a disclaimer. My mom is here and I'm so happy she came. And my brother as well. So the poem I wrote is an introduction of myself. This is a song of myself. Hi, I'm her. There is a melody of me sung by the wind. They hear it. I know they hear it. I see it in their glances, deafening in their silence, wishing they could merge in this melody with me, or maybe claim it for themselves. What they do not know is it cannot be bought, it cannot be faked, nor can it be stolen. It is a melody so complex and yet so easy. I sing lyrics of liberation, dancing in my truth. A song that rises in echoes of joy. I float around this earth to the rhythm of my drumming heart, extending my symphony with those that dare to respond to my smile, my kindness. I let them sway to my mesmerizing tune, carved in time. Hi, it's me again, her. Can you hear me now? Come, let me show you. A flame so rare you will catch your breath, the cadence of my very soul. Blazing red, whispering passion, frolicking rhythms of resistance. It's an eternal flame that cannot be extinguished, not by a breath, nor if it is submerged. The flame burns on. Come on, listen. Do you hear that? That is the divine sound of my breath. A tune that chants life, a tune that chants love, a rhythm my hips sway to. Now walk. This is the music of me, eternal, unbound, a rhythm that will never be stilled.
Whoa. Wasn't that brilliant? was amazing. Another round of applause for Hebe. And the last act in the open mic, this lady brought down the house when we did the Poetry Slam in January, and she was one of the 3 finalists. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Tadana Nakai.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tadana Nakai, but if you call me by either of these names, I will respond. I'm a poet and a spoken word artist, and this poem is called What the Divorce Sounded Like. I think the divorce had always been an unwelcome guest in our house. I lived with it longer than anyone ever knows. I studied its flaws and its habits, like slamming the door on the way to work in the morning, like my dad snoring on the couch at night without a blanket. Divorce sounded like my mom crying in the bathroom with all the taps running to muffle the sound. It sounded like my parents' lovemaking at night, but looked like the ice-cold stare over morning breakfast the next morning. See, I always imagined that when my parents got married, they were wearing cursed gold, that their vows were just as fake as the fake gold rings they wore, that their vows were 2 sides of a coin labeled destined to fail, and maybe until death do us part was just another lie the universe was telling them. See, when my parents finally split, everyone was shocked, but I wasn't. Because what people do not realize is that divorce is a lifelong pet that you nurture in your home, but you never realize you do until it is too late, until it turns to bite you, and divorce is never pretty, because it's I love you, but I can't stay to love you. It's both sides warm and hot that weathered my parents' souls until they had only shells beating inside of their chests. See, on their last day together, my parents flipped an ancient luck coin. They said heads meant a decision to put themselves first and their marriage last, and tails meant a decision to put themselves last and their marriage first, but they both flipped heads. And I wondered how someone could place the fate of love in the coined image of a mythical god who does not even exist, but they explained that their love was a Libra, born in an Avenues bar on a drunken night in September some 20 years back, and how the stars were not aligned in their favor, how their horoscope explained why they had all of these problems and no happiness, but they told me that I was too young to understand. The stars never lied, they said. I watched my parents spill their vows like cold tea down the drain. Tea leaves sunk to the bottom, dead, like tiny soldiers that got tired of fighting. They followed in the footprints of everything else that never really mattered, and the sound haunts me to this day. Every time I spill something down the drain, and I listen to its monstrous sound as it swallows up yet another part of my life. So when he asks me why I get nervous whenever he fumbles with his car keys, why I get jumpy whenever he raises his voice, I do not tell him, I cannot tell him, that on days like today, he sounds a whole lot like divorce. Thank you.
For those of you who missed the WordKalcha Poetry Slam in January, yeah, that's what you missed. That's what you missed out on. We got Charlie's Kitchen in the building. Hi, Charlie. Welcome. I'm good, thanks. Thank you. Now, we are getting into the guest performer segment, and I don't have many words to introduce this lady because her bio is too heavy for me. So I would just say, please help me to welcome to the stage Millicent. Keep it going, keep it going. And there are seats this side. You may come and sit this side.
Hey guys. Okay, thank you. Okay, so today is my attempt to read poems that I wrote in 2019, hoping I'm still the same woman, hoping I still have the same heart and I still mean everything that I wrote. So here we go. The first one is called Salt. Exit my mother out of a country whose land has refused to make a plantation out of her seeds. Country, a noun, which means a nation with its own government occupying a particular territory which you are licensed to use interchangeably with my father. We were the three wounds she left to heal. Even with the distance, we bent together like chipworks till we melted into these undead things, not dieable things that lived to bleed, and she carried us with the faithfulness of the sky, the way it carries a scalding sun on its back, skin, slicing skin, until the whole skin of the sky is, okay, sorry, can I take this again? Lived to bleed, and she carried us with the faithfulness of the sky, the way it carries a scalding sun on its back, skin, slicing skin, bleeding, blood, all of our bloods, soft grants of refusing to die things, drag, 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 slowly, until the whole skin of the sky is a red wound, ready to set and given tonight. But remember when we were night, when the night was holy to us, before the accident happened, where our father's seed landed in our mother's fertile soil, the last of the good times, before even light was made, remember, before we were cursed for birth, before we were born of these fallible bodies and corruptible liquids in our veins, before darkness was named night or could be named night, because there was no comparison yet, we danced, you and I, with our eyes closed, with hands for eyes, and so we touched until our presence formed lines in our palms when fear was afraid of us. Prior to I seeing it, fear froze and frightened the edges of our courage. You danced with me, carried the world in the spans of our bodies. We were our own borders, countries that were too attached to ever wage war. We needed no map to the next country. We traced each other's roads with our tongues until each of us reached home, still laughing at the idea of eyes. I was there when night broke its sweat, opened its legs, when wind screamed push, when our boundaries jumped out of our own bodies, when our boundaries jumped out of our bodies and landed on maps, divided into countries that could wage war, divided into countries that could never touch without asking for permission, that could wage war. Because finally, we knew where I ended and you started. That too is how I left my country, a ball of fire. Since you insist on it, let me explain to you how my mother became a sea of salt that my father died in. Not to say they were not a city full of lights and live bins once, but that years later we were the three wounds they stayed together to heal. Not to say we were healed at all, but that sometimes when I take a shower, I smell of too much aspirin than I remember taking, that I wash off some of my mother's salt from the pores of my skin while she has grown into a bigger wound now. bigger than us three. The ones she spent years begging on altars of all interested gods to heal. My father is still a landmine-infested area I refrain from visiting for fear of busting up this my land of milk, salt, water, and desert. And if you show up too, as a gunshot wound on your father's left foot from a war you went to fight in too early, without proper premise, then you too would play broken telephone with your father's words until his words reach your mother kinder, unblooded. I am still made of my mother's blood and my father's inconsistency. On my worst days, these two countries declare war on each other inside my body. Okay, so this second piece is more of a political one. This one is more personal than it was political. This one is more political than it is personal. It's called Revisiting the Body. Okay, I was going to give context, but no. Okay, so I was thinking about what it would feel like to be a dad in Zim, to when your son doesn't hit you, it is truly because he just respects you. Whereas when you're a mom, sometimes it feels like when he doesn't in relationship with your dying. If you die, you will be ngozi, right? That concept. So you will come back and you do things. Without your corpse, your son will not respect you. So I was just thinking about the relationship with, okay, so the respect that I actually get is in relationship with my death. And then there is the fact of, as I'm living right now, can I become president, for instance? Would you allow me to become president? Yet, if I die, and I say my bones will rise, you will give me a statue. Phakathi kwe-city. But what of a living woman? Like, can we actually respect a living woman? Okay. So this one is called Revisiting the Body. Where I come from, a certain woman's story has grown into legend. A woman who threw bones in the midst of flaring bullets. It is said she saw into bones, that she was part spirit, that she was directed by the ground, caught bullets with her vocal cords. It is said before a war, mighty men thronged a shrine for interpretations of the soil, that a voice was shield. Nehanda, the bones woman. When she appears in my history book as a cloth to cover her body seeming to swerve slowly with the wind, hanging on a tree. That was my introduction to the female body. Caught by a pursuing armed battalion, closing the nose against the strong stench of death and saying my bones will rise. Female body, dancing in surrender to the music of death. What else is this body besides dying? Besides slow movements on a rope dangling off a tree, besides bones? The day my uncle almost hit my grandmother with a rusty steel bar was also the day he became a man. Was the day grandmother grew safest from him. Silence attacked the room at the speed of light. Steel bar in air, grandfather in motion, faster than light, catching the bar before the abominable thing, blood, the good kind, under the circumstances. A non-relative's blood was the kind to be feared. Had the steel bar touched grandmother's skin, it is said a spirit would rise. years later, brandishing a sweeping vengeance and amnesia, forgetting her own chromosomes to wipe out everything with grandfather's blood in it. Woman, as hungry for blood, as outsider, as fucking angry spirit. What else is this body when not an abode for the celestial? When it is not nehanda, not dangling on a tree, when its bones will not rise? Is it anything at all? Okay, so the next one is grandpa's story. My grandfather used to lie. The poem isn't started. My grandfather, my grandfather was a liar, yo. And I loved him very much. And he also told the truth. So when I start reading this poem, it will be up to you to separate the truth from the lies. I hope you will. I hope you'll see it. Grandpa's story. My grandfather has a penchant for accurate exaggerations. He says it like he was there, you know. This big woman, face down, purple top,